Yeah, he had a great run, and it's fun to watch. I think I watched Indiana State and Iowa. Caitlin Clark play about the same last year, so I was watching a lot of basketball.
Larry Bird stated last season that he followed Caitlin Clark and her squad just as much as he watched his former college team, Indiana State. When one of the greatest basketball players ever says they're watching you play, you know you're doing something unique. And if you know anything about Larry Bird, you know that he doesn't readily give praise. This is a man who has experienced everything in basketball and has faced some of the greatest players in history, yet he is taking the time to observe a young woman who, in contrast, is just beginning her career. But there's more to this story than just Bird being a fan. He sees something in Clark that reminds him of his own basketball journey. When you think back to that time, Bird wasn't the most athletic player on the court. He didn't run the fastest or jump the highest, but he did have an almost magical understanding of the game. And now, decades later, he's witnessing the same power in Clark's game. She's not just making waves in basketball, she's building a whole new ocean. To put it in perspective, Nike offered her a $28 million contract before she ever played her first professional game, which is more than many NBA players earn.
Caitlin Clark is breaking television records. Again. She is breaking her own television records. Again.
Even though she has only just begun, she is already the biggest star in the WNBA. However, there is a drawback to being in the public eye. It's not all applause and autographs. Some people love you, others doubt you, and everyone watches your every move. When you see Bird and Clark side by side, you begin to understand why he's such a huge fan, because they both have the sixth sense on the court, which allows them to see plays before they happen, like they're reading minds while everyone else is reading a book. Let's examine what makes Clark's game so unique each time she takes the court. While most players are playing checkers, Bird, Clark is playing chess, thinking 3, 4, and 5 moves ahead. They can both shoot from distances that make coaches anxious and defenders frustrated, but it's more than just the shooting. Like Bird, she makes up for not being the most athletic player by being smarter and more skilled than everyone else. She has that same look in her eye that all the greats have, one that says, "I belong here." She is proof that basketball isn't just about who can run faster or jump higher. It's also about who can think faster and execute better. Here's where the story gets even more intriguing. Steve Kerr, who has won 9 NBA titles as a player and coach, sees something different when he watches Clark. Instead of seeing Larry Bird, he sees Steph Curry. And when you think about it, that comparison might be even more telling about where basketball is headed. Here's what Kerr said, and pay attention because this is important. "Caitlin reminds me a lot of Steph Curry." Many people may not recall this, but during Steph's early years, he wasn't a celebrity and wasn't who he is today. He had to become stronger and realize that people were after him, which is what's happening with Caitlin. Like Curry and those early years, Clark is currently learning that the professional game is different. She has experienced some incredible moments, such as scoring 30 points against the Washington Mystics in a game where everything seemed to click, but she has also had difficult nights, such as shooting just 10% against the New York Liberty. The thing about being a pro is that you have to learn to handle both the highs and the lows. Curry Clark does things on the court that most players wouldn't even consider trying. She begins shooting as soon as she crosses half court, and we're not talking about desperate heaves. These are deliberate shots that she practices daily. Her passing is more akin to watching Patrick Mahomes throw a football than a regular basketball. She can throw full-court bombs that hit teammates perfectly in stride and no-look passes behind the back. She's not just playing basketball. Curry can't help but be inspired by the way she's redefining the game. Here's what the best shooter in NBA history has to say about Clark.
I mean, I've been watching from afar and understanding just how much of a power she is out there on the court. The cool part is the way that she plays and her range and the level of difficulty on her shots is obviously a very close comparison to the way.
However, he stated in a different interview that she is courageous and that the game comes naturally to her. She doesn't only score goals. When you see them play, she improves everyone around her. She simply adds an element of surprise that you can't really plan for because it's so unseen, in the sense that she's in her range when she crosses half court. Let's talk about her shooting form because it's unique. Curry notes that it doesn't change whether she's shooting from 3 or 30 feet away. It's like watching a perfectly programmed machine because her feet are always set. When Clark pulls up from the logo, something magical happens in the arena. The crowd begins to buzz before she even releases the ball because they know something special might happen as Curry EXP. These shots do more than just add 3 points to the scoreboard, they also break the spirit of the opposing team. Her elbow is always at the perfect angle, and her follow-through is picture-perfect almost every single time. That's not something you're born with. It's thousands of hours spent in an empty gym. Teams have tried everything to stop her, including putting taller and quicker defenders on her, doubling her, and denying her the ball. But like the great ones, she always finds a way because she can shoot from anywhere and pass like a quarterback. How do you defend someone who can consistently make shots from places where most players wouldn't even consider shooting? There is no ideal way to protect you. Now, let's talk about something that has been simmering beneath the surface. Not everyone was prepared for Clark's explosive rise. While NBA stars were quick to embrace her game, some WNBA players were more hesitant, and you know what, that's okay. Every great player who has changed the game has encountered skepticism. Bird did, Curry did, and change isn't always comfortable, but it's necessary for growth. Even LeBron James, who is well-versed in handling high expectations, stood up for Clark. Here's what he said. Don't misunderstand. From someone who has been bearing the burden of expectations since high school, Caitlin Clark will make significant contributions to the WNBA.
But I'm rooting for Caitlin because I've been in that seat before. I've walked that road before.
The path hasn't been flawless, and it wasn't meant to be that difficult game versus New York where shots simply wouldn't fall. That's part of the narrative. Those times when the game appears more difficult than it has ever been are when legends are created. Every great player has experienced them. Perhaps the most impactful aspect of Clark's story isn't statistics, highlights, or even comparisons to legends. Rather, it's about what happens in driveways and gymnasiums across the nation, especially young girls watching her play and thinking, Jordan did Bird, and Curry did. It's not about never failing, it's about how you respond when you do. I want to do that in the same way that Bird inspired a generation to perfect their jump shot. At just 22 years old, Clark is demonstrating to kids that they can dream bigger than ever before. She plays with the fundamentals that would make the legends proud, but with a style that points to basketball's future. We're not just witnessing another gifted player, we're witnessing someone who has the potential to drastically alter how the game is played, which is what makes basketball so beautiful. This isn't just about a gifted player, making shots or winning games. It's about someone pushing the limits of what we believe is possible on a basketball court. Curry accomplished this by expanding the range of what's possible, and Clark is doing the same by taking elements from those who came before while adding her own distinct flair. Every time she takes the court, she breaks down barriers, alters our perspectives, and inspires us to believe in magic. Just like Bird couldn't take his eyes off those Indiana games, we are eager to witness what Clark does in the upcoming season. If you liked this breakdown, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to ensure that you never miss another video. Leave a comment below with your favorite Caitlin Clark moment to date, and don't forget to share it with any basketball fans you know. Until the next time, keep watching. History is being made. Thank you for watching. At its core, what you just witnessed is more than a viral interaction. It is a rare alignment between past greatness and present potential, where a figure like Larry Bird publicly acknowledges what Caitlin Clark represents, not just as a player, but as a catalyst for change within the sport. And when that kind of acknowledgement happens, it carries weight, it reshapes conversations, and it forces a recalibration of expectations across the board. Because now the focus is no longer on whether she can succeed, but on how far she can push the boundaries of the game itself. And that shift is critical, because it marks the transition from prospect to pillar, from rising star to defining figure. And if you are truly paying attention, you understand that we are still in the early stages of that transformation, which makes every moment from here even more significant. So if you value real analysis, deeper insight, and content that goes beyond surface-level reactions, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay connected, because we are going to continue breaking down every layer of this evolving story as it unfolds.